Hello, everyone, friends, colleagues, family. It's really wonderful to be with you today. I am confident we have the technical bugs worked out for those who might have joined us last time, and this didn't happen, but hopefully you're all now seeing this and listening just fine. I come to you as both the founder of the Center for Healthy Minds, as well as Healthy Minds Innovations, which is a nonprofit organization that I founded a number of years ago to take the insights from our science and turn them into tools that can help us to cultivate well-being and to measure well-being at scale. And we're really excited to be with you, especially at this challenging time in our nation's history and in the world in which we're living today. We're facing an unprecedented pandemic. We're being asked to socially distance, and I actually think that this term social distancing is an unfortunate misnomer. It really should be physical distancing, and we're very fortunate to be living in a time when we have the technology to remain socially connected at the same time in which we physically distance. And part of the invitation in the work that our center and that Healthy Minds Innovations is pivoting toward is helping people to respond with more resilience to the challenge in which we are living today. And I'll say more about that as we go along. I'd like to invite you, as we're beginning this, to enter into the chat box, which is on the right of the screen, just a single word that represents your state of mind at the present time. How are you doing? Give us one word that may reflect this state. We're facing this really extraordinary challenge. We are disrupting our lives. We're living in a way which none of us are really accustomed to living. And the act of physical distancing is challenging for many of us. And people are now responding. They're exhausted, they're sad, they're hopeful, they're calm, they're jittery, they're uncertain, connected, scared. The full range of human emotion is, I think, on display. And one of the invitations that I'd like to offer is to think, when we are practicing physical distancing, it's really an act of generosity. We're not only protecting ourselves from getting infected by this really nasty virus, but we're really doing it primarily for the benefit of others, so that we don't become viral vectors and particularly infect people who are especially vulnerable. And so one of the opportunities that I think we have at this time is to reframe the task that we're being given to physically distance, and think of that in a way that benefits others and protects others from this virus that's impacting all of us. I'd like to now focus on appreciation. Appreciation we can define as the recognition and enjoyment of the good qualities of someone or something. Why is appreciation so important in this moment? Appreciation can really help us to be resilient in this moment. There are so many opportunities for appreciation in our everyday life that I think become more poignant and more salient. We don't ordinarily think of the Amazon delivery person with the same kind of appreciation that we might think of today, or the person who picks up our trash on a regular basis, or the person who might deliver our food to us in this circumstance. Or we can reflect on the frontline workers who are dealing with the devastating impact on people who are really ill, our medical professionals, our nurses, our physicians who are on the front lines. There is so much to appreciate that is happening now in this world. And so I'd like to invite us all to do a little bit of practice now, formal practice around appreciation. And then I'll say a little bit more about how this practice can actually be extended and taken into everyday life. So let's find a posture that's upright, dignified, relaxed, not too tight, not too loose. And we can keep our eyes open or closed, whichever is more comfortable. And let's first simply bring our awareness into the present moment. Ground ourselves. Notice whatever sensations may be present in our bodies. Spending a few moments simply checking in. There may be tension. Our anxiety may be expressed in our jaw, in our chest. And simply noticing whatever might be present, not trying to fix anything, change anything, to simply be aware. And we can take 1 or 2 deep breaths and just exhale and let go of whatever tension we may be experiencing. And another deep breath. And simply letting it go. And let's spend a few moments reflecting on how practices like this to help us to calm our mind and open our heart can be beneficial not only for ourselves, but for all the others that we touch, indirectly or directly. Our loved ones, people who we may live with, people who we care for, people who care for us. So let's spend a few moments reflecting on this altruistic motivation for doing a practice like this. And now let's bring into our mind and our heart a person who helps us in our everyday life. It may be a person we live with. It could even be a pet that we live with. It might be a delivery person. It may be a healthcare provider. It may be our spouse. Whoever it might be. Bring this person into our mind and our heart. and appreciate all that they're doing to be helpful in this challenging circumstance. So let's spend a few moments bringing this person into our heart. And we can even think of how we may thank them and express in a very direct way our appreciation and gratitude for all that they may be doing to be helpful. And let's perhaps move on to another person. And recognize how they are serving in this challenging situation. And allowing this sense of appreciation to naturally emerge. And reflecting on how we may acknowledge and express our gratitude to this person when we may see them next. And let's expand our circle of appreciation to include those we may not know personally, but whose efforts we recognize. Maybe people on the front lines. Maybe people who work in our local hospital. Maybe workers in a grocery store from which we get our food. Whoever this might be. And again, allowing this spontaneous form of appreciation to emerge. And in our mind, we can thank them for all that they're doing, and we can also wish them well. We can wish that they be safe, that they be healthy, and that they be strong. We can use a simple phrase. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be strong. As we expand our circle of appreciation to include more and more of these individuals. And we see so many examples of these people every day, many of whom are putting their own health at risk to serve others. And finally, there is our mind itself to appreciate. One of the instructions that we receive from our public health officials is to try as best we can to avoid touching our face. How many of you have had the urge, or how many of you have caught yourself at various times touching your face and notice, wow, I'm doing this and I really shouldn't be, given what I've been told by the public health officials? When we recognize this, this is a moment that we scientists call meta-awareness. It's a precious human quality. It is an attribute of our minds that everyone has to a greater or lesser extent. And we know that there are practices such as these that can help to strengthen meta-awareness. And this is really an amazing quality, and one that engenders a sense of awe and appreciation that we all have a mind which is capable of this extraordinary feat. So I invite you, the next time you perhaps notice an urge or a inclination to touch your face, and you catch yourself just before or even after, that's fine too, but that you rejoice in that moment and recognize it and appreciate, wow, this human mind that we've all been blessed with is really quite amazing. So spend a few moments now checking in with your mind and simply being aware now of whatever may be present. Simply being rather than doing. And noticing whatever may be coming up. Whenever we end even a short period of practice, we always like to dedicate whatever insight, whatever merit we may have gleaned from this practice, and we dedicate it to the welfare of others. And so let's now take a moment and simply reflect on how we may bring the insights that we have derived from this short time together, how we may bring them out into the world. Not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all the others that we connect with directly or indirectly. So for those of you whose eyes have been closed, please open them now. And we can spend some time in some conversation and interaction. One of the things I'd like to invite you to do is to now enter into the chat box a word which characterizes your state right at the moment. Maybe the same as your state when we started. It may be different. Type in a word that reflects how you may be feeling right now. One of the opportunities that we have as we are in this really peculiar situation that we find ourselves in, and the words are coming in: connected, peaceful, light, calm, embodied, settled, restless, open, grateful, glimmer, great, wonderful. Lots of grounded, weird, very, very blessed, hopeful, good. Wonderful to see all of them. One of the strategies that I've been using is when I go out, and I've been going out very little, but going out to walk just in the neighborhood, and inevitably I see people, although I am physically distant. But one of the things that I try to do is to maintain social connectedness, even if I'm physically distant. We can smile at people, whether we know them or not, and we can say in our minds, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be strong, as we look at them, as we pass them. And this is something we can all do very spontaneously as we go out and about in our day. We may be doing this for people that we see on Zoom calls as we're beginning or ending a conversation, or during. And these little tips where we can bring this out into the world in this way can be enormously helpful in cultivating resilience. And in our scientific research, we have found that resilience is really about how people recover from adversity. It's not about blunting our response to stress. It's not about creating emotional zombies. That's not what we're trying to do. We are living in a very stressful time, and it is perfectly normal to feel anxious and to feel scared and to feel uncertain and to feel stressed in response to news that comes in. The real key is how we can recover from that. How long does that reverberate? Can we find a way to respond in the moment and then come back down to baseline? And these simple practices, we in our research and other scientists have found that using hard-nosed measures in a laboratory, we can measure the brain, we can also measure bodily systems like our stress hormones, parameters of immune function. And it turns out that the regular practice of these simple methods can facilitate the more rapid recovery, where we respond appropriately, but then we come right back down to baseline. And so this is something that can really be helpful, not only for our mental health during this challenging time, but it can actually help our bodily systems, which we need all of these systems to be as healthy as possible to respond in as adaptive a way as they might in this period of challenge. And so one of the efforts that our organizations have been involved with is the development of a scientifically based app to cultivate well-being. This is not a mindfulness app. This is an app that goes beyond mindfulness to cultivate all of the 4 fundamental pillars of well-being, which are really important to cultivate flourishing, to have all our systems operating to their full potential, which we need particularly at this time. So you can go to Healthy Minds Innovations, our nonprofit, or to the Center for Healthy Minds, our university center, to learn more about this. And you can go to your app stores to download the Healthy Minds program, which is an app that is available free. It's freely available. We're able to offer it free because of the generosity of our supporters and donors who have enabled us to do this. And you can find practices there that you can do every day to cultivate each of these 4 elements of well-being. There are many other live webinars that we're also doing and practices, and I would encourage you to go to our websites, and you will find information about our regular guided practices. There's one that will be focused on purpose, which is one of the 4 key pillars of well-being, and this workshop or practice will be held on this coming Thursday, April 9th. So you can tune in to that. One of the silver linings in all of this has been the pivoting of research in our center and outreach efforts around responses to the COVID pandemic. We are harnessing this as an opportunity to determine if the regular engagement in these practices can actually facilitate a more adaptive response to this challenge. And so we're actually doing a whole bunch of online research where we're disseminating our app and actually measuring responses to it in ways that will be informative in the face of this very dramatic real-life challenge. And so rather than not being as busy as we might ordinarily be, we're actually busier than we normally are to harness this opportunity to both learn more and also because we think that these practices may really be particularly beneficial at this challenging time. So we have a vision in our organizations of a kinder, wiser, and more compassionate world that is possible. And even in the face of a pandemic of this sort, and I would say especially in the face of this kind of challenge, we can deeply appreciate how interconnected we all are and how extraordinarily true it is that our actions have impact that literally can spread around the globe. And we see it so clearly with this virus. We're of the conviction that even if we take just a few minutes a day, one of the things I often say is that when human beings first evolved on this planet, none of us were brushing our teeth. And yet virtually every person on the planet now brushes their teeth. And we do it because we've recognized that this is something good for our personal physical hygiene. If we spent even as short a time as we spend brushing our teeth, nurturing our mind and cultivating these qualities of appreciation, of kindness, of compassion, this world would really be a different place. And I'm convinced that our response to a pandemic of this sort would be more adaptive. And so please join us on this journey. It's now more important than it ever has been before in human history. So please go to our websites, download our app, and most importantly, do what you can to embody these qualities in our everyday life. And it is through changing one mind at a time that the world will change accordingly. So I want to express my deepest appreciation to all of you, my gratitude to you for joining us today. I don't know how many people we have online, but I see right now it's more than 650 people and spread around the globe. And so this is very heartening, and I wish you all the best, and please be safe, be healthy, and be strong. We need all of you. Thank you so much.